What would be left of you if your job disappeared? We spend years building careers, collecting titles, climbing ladders. We introduce ourselves by what we do. I'm a teacher. I'm an engineer. I'm a CEO. But what happens when that job is taken away? A layoff, retirement, illness, sudden change. For many people, it feels like death, not of the body, but of identity. Because when we tie our worth to a role, we forget the person behind it. The ego loves roles. They give it structure, status, validation. The more prestigious or demanding the job, the more solid the self-image feels. But it's fragile. One rejection, one failure, one market crash, and the structure cracks. Who are you when you're not performing? Who are you when you're not being praised? If there's fear in that question, that's the ego holding on. We don't just fear losing income. We fear becoming invisible, useless, forgotten. But here's the truth. Your being doesn't disappear when your doing stops. In fact, the deepest parts of you, your awareness, your compassion, your curiosity, have nothing to do with your job description. They existed before your resume, and they'll remain after it. Work can be meaningful, but it isn't you. You are not the emails, the deadlines, the meetings. You are not your productivity. When we believe we are our job, we overwork not just from ambition, but from fear. Fear of not existing without output. We become addicted to validation. Praise becomes our oxygen. Busyness becomes our mask. But there's a quiet revolution that begins the moment you realize, even if I stop doing, I still am. You can contribute to the world without being consumed by it. You can step back and still belong. You can fail and still be whole. And ironically, the less you cling to your role, the more clearly you'll perform it. You'll no longer act from insecurity, but from presence. You won't need to prove yourself, just to express yourself. You'll work not to impress, but to serve. This illusion that we are what we do starts young. Ask a child what they want to be, and they'll answer with a job title. Not a quality, not a way of living, but a profession. We are trained to tie identity to function, and so when function stops, so does our sense of worth. But your value doesn't vanish when your calendar is empty. Your meaning doesn't evaporate when your badge or uniform comes off. You were born valuable, and you'll die valuable. Everything in between is just a dance of roles. Here's the shift. Treat your job like a role you play, not a definition of who you are. An actor can play a king without thinking they are one. You can be a surgeon, a coder, a builder, and know that the work is a task, not a self. This frees you to succeed without becoming arrogant, and to fail without becoming ashamed. It lets you rest, not because the work is done, but because your being was never tied to doing. Imagine the peace of walking into your job, not to prove anything, but just to be fully present with what's needed. No striving, no fear of being unmasked, just clear, creative contribution. And when the job ends, because all jobs eventually do, you'll grieve the chapter, not lose yourself. Because the story continues. And you are more than anyone seen. So yes, do the work, be excellent, give your all, but never forget, your worth is not up for evaluation. It is the one constant behind every role you'll ever play.